I'm Mel.
I'm Janelle.
And this is the Murder Mamas.
Murder Mama. Welcome.
My mouse does not want to work.
Yeah, that was very... There was like a really long delay there.
It was. It's a really old computer.
Yeah.
And a crappy one.
It needs an upgrade.
It does. Eventually.
We'll get there.
We will. Someday. How you doing?
Living the dream.
Okay.
Let's just jump in.
Let's just do that then. Okay. So today we're going to talk about Susan Cox Powell. This is like a well-known case in the true crime community world.
Not for your girl.
Okay.
I mean, the name doesn't ring a bell to me, but...
The case might.
Once you start talking details, it might jar something.
Okay.
In my big old noggin.
All right.
So let's see.
This case, I've listened to it, I know it. And then I watched a fucking documentary from Oxygen about it. And they had so many videos. It was very disturbing. Like, I'll get to that. But it was just like a lot. And so it really pisses me off. Like, this whole case is just very disturbing.
So you're going to get heated?
I'm going to get heated.
All right.
All right. So, born on October 16th, 1981, Susan Cox Powell is the third daughter. I'm going to say was because I'm pretty sure she's dead, but she has never been found. So,
even if she's dead, she's still there.
Yeah, is the third daughter of Charles and Judy Cox. She was born in New Mexico and lived in Alaska before her family settled in Washington State when she was a little girl. She was known as being outgoing, an optimistic person. She had lots of faith. She was in the LSD community. Okay. She believed in her Heavenly Father. And her, major goal in life was to be a wife and a mother. That was what she wanted to do. And she was looking forward to it.
Okay.
So, that's just, she was, and I don't know what you said.
Why did they move around so much?
I don't know why he moved around. I don't know. I think it was just we moved around a lot just for work, I'm assuming. But by the time they had settled, she was young. So I think they may have done a couple moves when she was younger and then they finally settled.
And were they there?
They were a stable, good family. They're a good family. Okay. So yeah, I don't know why they moved, but they're fine. They're a totally great family. Joshua... We're moving on.
I'm aware. I was waiting for more.
This is going to be her future husband, Joshua.
Okay.
Powell is the son of Teresa and Stephen Powell, and they wed back in 1973. Joshua Powell was born on January 20th, 1976. His parents, what?
I don't know why I needed to know when his parents got married.
I don't know why either, but it was just showing they were married and I don't know. So his parents kind of had a dysfunctional marriage. His father, Stephen, had violent outbursts and abuse and was kind of falling away from the LDS church and becoming his own entity. He was a narcissist. Everything revolved around him. He was a very violent person and he was a very sexual person.
Okay.
So you can see that's not cool.
Super not cool.
He was, I don't know if this is a given, but I think this is. He shared pornography with Joshua and his two brothers and refused to teach or enforce limits on certain behaviors. So he was the kids just ran. There were 5 of them, 3 boys and 2 girls. And I don't think it was a good life or a good upbringing.
That's exactly the makeup of me and my siblings.
Yeah, it's not good. As a teenager, Joshua allegedly killed gerbils belonging to one of his sisters and threatened his mother with a butcher knife.
Sounds like my brother.
Exactly.
He used to kill my hamsters.
Oh, seriously? That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
I would take a knife and stab my brother.
He liked to do science experiments.
No.
One time he put one on the trampoline to see how high it would jump. How high it could go. And then there was another one. We don't have to unpack all of
Wow.
them here. There was another one that he slid down a banister and it hit into a wall.
Oh my god. This is so
I think
sad.
there was only two. It was those two.
Only two.
I mean, it's more than I think any reasonable person should.
Is he a murderer?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't.
You don't think so? We're
I
not
mean,
gonna say
anyone
it on
could
air.
hide it.
Shit, seriously?
He's not a convicted murderer, but like, there's a chance. Anyone could be a murderer, right? Like, sometimes
Sure.
you never know.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
as it stands on today in 2023, there are no
Nothing yet.
convictions
Shit.
or suspicions.
Okay.
To the best of my
that's
knowledge.
good. That's good.
Yeah, but yeah, he used to kill my hamsters.
Awesome. Okay, so by the late 1990s...
You're welcome for my trauma.
That sucks.
It felt good to get that one out.
Okay. So he was living in Seattle as a student of the University of Washington. It was there that he began a relationship with a young woman named Catherine Everett, who he met at a local LDS church congregation.
Okay.
After the two moved into the apartment together, Joshua became possessive towards her. She later recalled he refused to allow her to visit her family by herself and added, quote, he would have restrictions and limitations on what I could and couldn't do when it came to my family.
Ooh.
So when she went to go visit a friend in Utah without Josh, she decided not to return to Washington and broke up with him over the phone and was like, peace out. I never want to see you again.
Smart girl.
Yes. So his dealings and what he does to his wife, it wasn't just her. Like this was
It was
already
like a pattern.
This is already starting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's due to his dad because his dad was the fucking same way. And it's just bad. So Joshua met Susan Cox, a classmate at his LDS Church Institute of Religion course, during a dinner party at his Tacoma apartment in November 2000. The two began a relationship and married in the Portland, Oregon temple in April 2001. So they started dating and then they got married right away. She's 19. He's like 23 at this point.
So I don't know a ton about that religion, but what I do know is that is fairly common.
Yes.
In the culture of that church.
Yes.
To
get married early, have babies, and do
young,
it all. Yeah.
Quickly.
Yep. Raise them, get them out, get the grandkids going. Yeah, it's a thing. It is. So I mean, it's not like it wasn't weird in any way, but
yeah.
19 is
culturally
just the cultural.
acceptable.
Yeah, it's just 19's very young.
But it's even like the amount of time from dating to marriage is like very quick.
Yeah,
And
I don't like that.
Common.
Yeah, just there's no rush.
Well, for some people there is.
Okay. Don't get married at 19. I'm just saying, don't get married at 19. That's way too early. You're still finding yourself. Like, if I was not... Well, I met him when I was 21. I was like, I don't know. But 19 is still so young.
It is very young.
So young.
But you have to think, like, they can't have premarital relations.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's different.
And I think the
That has a
desire
lot to do
have
with it, yeah.
marital relations
Thus, the children being born with no birth control and
Has a
all
lot
that
to
is
do
just
with it.
one after another. Yes.
Anyways.
Okay,
So they
so-
were together, what, 7 months?
Couple months, and then they got married in 2001.
Okay.
Joshua had a bachelor's degree in business and worked for a number of different companies over the years. I don't think he could ever hold down a job.
For a
Like,
long
he
time.
was not a stable
Person.
worker. So he didn't bring in a stable income.
Okay.
She was trained as a cosmetologist because she just loved that and loved people and was bubbly and loved helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Great member of her church, all of this stuff. But since Josh couldn't hold down a job, she ended up getting a job at Wells Fargo Investments after the family relocated to West Valley City, Utah, a suburb of Salt Lake City.
Okay.
The Powells went on to have 2 sons, Charles, born in 2005, and Braden, born in 2007.
Surprisingly, they were together for quite a few years before having children.
Yeah, they were. And I'm going to kind of go back and forth with this. So just so you
It'll
know.
be nice and confusing.
It will
Thanks,
be
I
nice.
appreciate it.
Well, I was like, I told Auntie last night, I'm like, I'm not writing anything down. I'm just putting bullet points. And I was like, it's going to be all good. And then today I was like, I'm going to write everything out. Avery's sleeping until 2:30. I don't have anything else to do. So now I'm like going to go back and forth because it's like you can't tell the whole story from beginning to end without kind of
for sure.
back and forth.
I have a question.
Yes.
In your listening and like research and stuff, is divorce in that?
It'll come up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for a brief period following their wedding, this is before they moved to, Joshua and Susan lived at Stephen Powell's home, Joshua's father, in South Hill, Washington. Initially, Susan did not realize that her father-in-law had developed an obsessive infatuation with her. He followed her around the house with a camcorder, and these are all in the documentary. So there are, like, they didn't show a scene twice. They had so many videos that, like, they just showed different videos. So he was constantly recording himself and recording her. I encourage you, if you're interested in the story, to look up the documentary because this piece of shit, Stephen, his father, is so fucking creepy. He like films things and then he'll turn the camera on himself and he'll be like standing there and like breathing and then he goes like, you know, like he gets that like he's just had satisfaction of something. It's so disturbing and disgusting. Like
sounds really disturbing.
It's horrible.
So maybe you'll mention it, but like, did she tell Joshua? Like,
yeah, I'll get there.
Okay, like, yo, your dad's a fucking creep, bro.
So yeah, and so he also used a mirror to spy on her while she was in the bathroom.
No.
He stole her underwear from her laundry, read her journals, and even posted love songs online under like a different name to her from him, but like not his name.
Oh my God.
In 2003, Stephen confessed his feelings to a stunned Susan, who was like, what the fuck? No. And the encounter was actually captured by Stephen's camcorder because it was running like while he was saying this to her because he thought that she was going to be like, oh, hell yes, like, you love me, like,
oh my God.
You know, I don't know. So,
was it the, like, catalyst for their move?
Yes.
Like, to get away from him?
So, like, and it's kind of weird because Josh didn't have a great relationship with his dad when he was younger, but when he's older and, like, after he married Susan, it's like his dad became his best friend. So I don't know if that was because of Susan or if because he was older and now they're like,
dude, I mean,
being creepy together. I don't know.
So you said his dad's a narcissist. So it's probably that his dad is giving him like the attention that he always wanted, like his entire life. Mm-hmm. You know, but his dad's doing it with malicious intent related to Susan, and he's just so blinded by like healing his inner child, you know, that he's like, Daddy.
It's horrible.
Not a psychologist. So could be completely wrong, but that's
could be, but no, I think you're on the right track. So Susan's journal entries and email correspondence indicated the presence of marital discord. There was tension with Joshua over his refusal to attend church. Like, he just started going downhill. Like, he was all into church when they met, and now he's, like, over it. And then she was kind of getting creeped out over her father-in-law. And so Susan's friends also pointed to Josh's, quote, extremely controlling behavior towards his wife and to his extravagant spending habits. Joshua filed for bankruptcy in 2007, declaring over $200,000 in debts. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess they both had to file bankruptcy, but like it was because of him. Like, he doesn't hold out a job and
is
spending all this shit on computer equipment and the stuff that they don't need, and it's just really bad. So Susan recorded a video in July 2008 surveying the property damage that was attributed to Joshua, and then like recorded all of her assets that a lawyer had told her to do just in case like something would happen, if because she was thinking about divorce. Like she's like, this is getting out of control. Like
you said in 2005, so they had one kid at that time or two? 2004.
Well, this in 2007 he declared bankruptcy. And then in 2008 is when she started thinking of...
Oh, okay. Okay. So they had both of their
kids. Yeah, they had both the kids at the time. Yeah, they were like 2 and 4 or something when she disappeared. So, and she said in her video, because she videotaped herself, which she put in a lockbox in a bank that Joshua did not know about. So, like, she's knowing shit's going on. Yeah. So she put in there, quote, I want it documented that there is extreme turmoil in our marriage, and if I die, it may not be an accident, even if it looks like one. So Josh is becoming very...
like
unhinged. She wasn't allowed to drive a car. Josh sold her car, and then he kept the family van that he would drive around. Mind you, he didn't have a job he did sometimes, but not like steady, you know? It was here and there. So she had to bike to work 7 miles to and from work. He made her knit her own socks because he didn't want to pay for that.
What?
Yeah. And I'm like, wouldn't that be more expensive? Like, you have to buy the knitting needles. You got to buy the yarn.
Can you imagine wearing knitted socks?
No. And like, well, I can't do that.
That might be really cozy.
It might be. But like having to make them, being forced to, that's uncomfortable.
That's awful.
He would make the kids split a hot dog instead of them each getting their own because he said they would just shit it out later anyway. So why did they need...
Are we talking like a regular ass hot dog?
Just like a hot dog that kids eat, you know, like a little tiny hot dog. He would make them split it.
Did he get a full hot dog?
Yes, because he had lots of computer equipment too that was worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. And so she did all the cooking, she did all the cleaning, and she held a full-time job at Wells Fargo, which she kept for all of their marriage. Yes.
Oh my God.
So she's like thinking about getting divorced, but she didn't want to because she is dedicated to her religion. And she was like, I don't want to have to get divorced, but this is getting a little bit too much. And I guess she started asking her friends, like, hey, what are my options? And all of their friends are in the LSD, and they're like, well, I don't know. Like, why would we know any of that? So, like, nobody's gone through divorce. So they're like, I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, it's getting...
It's not LSD, it's LDS.
Oh, did I say... I'm thinking of one thing. It's actually the other thing. LDS, yes. So... her friends had also heard Josh overhear her friends said that they heard Josh tell Susan that over my dead body, will you leave me or take the boys away from me? So like there's turmoil in this, you know, and she's started to think.
I just like, you never loved her, right?
No.
Like, if you loved her, like, you would want the best for her.
Yeah.
Even if that meant not being together, right? Like,
sure. And in the video, it's so sad because, I mean, they have so much video. They zoom in while they're doing their first dance, and she is just, like, looking at him like this, like, and she's, like, in love. And he's just, like, you know, like, trying not to make eye contact with her. Like, you can totally tell that, like, he's just awkward and weird. Like, she's looking at him so lovingly. And, like, you can tell she's in love. And he's just, like, awkwardly, like, dancing. And just eyes are darting all over the place. Like, it's really weird. Yeah, it was really weird. Okay, so now we're going to go to December 7th, 2009. Okay. Josh's mom calls 911 to report that Her son, her daughter-in-law, and her 2 boys were missing.
Did they go camping?
Yes.
I do know this.
Yeah, I was like, everybody knows this story. So
all it took was
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know this. In like the middle of the night.
Yep.
Sorry. I just got excited.
Yeah.
Not excited, but like.
So Susan hadn't showed up for work that day. Josh hadn't showed up for work that day. And the boys were not dropped off at daycare. Nobody could get a hold of them. It was like for 17 hours or something. And so I think it was finally Susan's work had called her number or the emergency number, and then the daycare called the emergency number because they're like, it's weird. They haven't shown up. They haven't called, like something's going on. So the mom and the sisters like dart over to Susan and Josh's house. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, like something's happened.
And this is Josh's mom and sister.
Josh's mom and 2 sisters.
Okay.
Yes.
How many hours would you wait before me responding before you showed up at my house?
I don't know. It depends on... It wouldn't be 17 hours. It'd be like 4. It depends. Like
it depends on what you're asking.
What I'm asking. Yeah. Like if it was just some stupid meme and you didn't respond to me, I'd be like, all right. But if it was like a specific question, and I'd be like, okay, bitch. What the fuck? So they went over there as well. They could not get in. They called the cops. They came over to do a welfare check. And then they were like, we can't get in. There's no track. Like it was snowing and there was no tracks leaving or going. So they're like, nobody's here. And so the mom and the sisters are like, please just break in. Like we give you permission to break in. Like the mom said her first thought was they died of carbon monoxide poisoning or something.
Like some sort of medical emergency happened.
Yes. And so Josh's mom and dad divorced when he was 16.
Okay.
So the boys lived with the dad and the girls went and lived with the mom.
Okay.
They get inside.
Okay, so the police do enter.
The police do break in and get inside. And they look around and nobody's home, but they see box fans that are blowing on the couch, and the couch is wet and it looks like it was just cleaned by something. And so they're like, that's weird. Where is everybody? So then they enter into the bedroom and Susan's purse was sitting there. Her keys to the house and everything were in her purse. Her cell phone was gone. And so they're like, this is weird. I think the sister calls Josh and says, hey, where are you? Like, we've been trying to call you. Susan isn't at work. You're not at work. The boys are missing. Like, people are getting worried. And he was like, oh, I'm on my way home. Don't worry about it. Like, I'll be there in a little bit. And she was like, oh, okay. Well, instead of going home, he drives around the opposite direction and drives 20 minutes away, calls Susan, leaves her a voicemail saying he is on his way home and hopes that she got to work okay. So, like, what?
Okay, what an afterthought alibi.
Right, and what, you drove 20 minutes away, like, so that your cell would get...
Yeah, like you'd ping on a different cell tower or whatever.
Okay, so Ellis Maxwell, which is a cop, the detective on the case, calls Josh and was like, dude, where the fuck are you? And get the fuck home. Like, we just said your wife and kids are missing and you're just driving around. Like, why is it took him like 5 hours to get back. Like, what the fuck was he doing? So he gets home and the police are like, I think we need to go down to the station and kind of talk this out and see like what's up. Like, aren't you curious to know what the hell's going on? Like, he hasn't mentioned anything yet. Like, hasn't mentioned her name, doesn't know, pretends like he doesn't know what the fuck's going on and all of that. So
I'm getting really big.
Right? It's just it's so frustrating.
What is Shanann Watts' husband's name?
Oh, Chris.
Yeah. Getting real big Chris Watts vibes here.
Yep. And so they asked him, like, oh, when did you see her last? And he said midnight of the night before. He had decided to take the kids camping and they really wanted to have s'mores. So they packed it up and left at midnight and drove in sub temperatures to go camping. Mind you, his kids are 2 and 4 at the time. They had school the next day. But, midnight camping and minus 10 degrees is probably, pretty cool for a 2 and 4-year-old.
Do these people hear what they're saying?
They do.
Like, any logical person is going to be like, no. Like,
I think they know. They couldn't pin it on him, though. And they never do. Like, they got away with it. So, Josh says, that
must be so infuriating as, like, an investigator.
Like, these people are so fucking creepy, and then they got away with murder. Like, I'm going to say it. Like, most of these people are dead, so come at me. But he did it. Like, she's dead. They haven't found her body, but she's dead, obviously. She wouldn't leave her boys. Like, this is just not, yeah. So the cop was like, I really want you to come back tomorrow and we can talk about this a little because I think you need to, like, chill out, gather your thoughts, this kind of thing. So he was like, okay, you be back tomorrow at this time.
What 2 and 4-year-old are even up at midnight?
No, they're not. None of them are. No.
What? Who has 2 and 4-year-olds who are up at midnight? Like, Daddy, I'd like to go camping in a s'more. Like, don't you just be like, go back to bed? Like,
You can tell them no.
Yeah, like, no is the complete sentence. No.
Yes.
Tomorrow, we'll camp in the living room. Like, so
many.
Like, I just, what?
I'll put a blanket over your crib and then it'll look like a tent. Like, so many different things that could have happened.
Yeah.
So the next day, he was supposed to be there at a certain time, and his sisters and his mom had driven over to his house to see where he was and what he was doing. And he was cleaning the house and cleaning the car. And he was 4 hours late to his interview with no explanation. So, like...
Does he have the kids?
Yes.
Okay. So she's the only person
missing. She's the only person missing.
Oh, okay.
So they're asking him, like, hey, you kept calling Susan, but you had her phone. Like, why were you doing that? Like, we found the phone. It's in your possession. Like, why were you calling her if we told you that she was missing? And then you had her phone, so you knew she didn't have her phone.
Oh,
and he was just like, oh, I just got confused. I didn't realize that I had her phone. And they're like, why didn't you call in sick? Or why didn't you call in for the kids? And he was like, oh, I thought that today was Sunday, not Monday. And so he's like,
at church?
Right. So, like, anyway, he's just saying all this stuff, and it's really weird. So then the cop was like, well, was she depressed or suicidal? And he was like, yes, she was totally suicidal. That was it. She was horrible. She was sad. She was lonely, like all of this stuff, which is not true because she had a ton of friends at the church and they were all like best friends. Like there's a lot of them that are interviewed in this documentary. Like she had a lot of friends. So they're like, okay, well, we got a search warrant for your car and your house, and we're doing that right now. And your car is currently being investigated, but it's almost done, and we'll probably get it back to you within 15 minutes. So if you want to go wait out in the waiting room, go ahead. So he was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So he took a taxi to the airport and rented a car. Didn't wait 15 minutes for his car to get back from being searched. He was just like, peace out. He put over 800 miles and disappeared for 20 hours on that car.
Okay.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
Yeah.
What are you doing? 800 miles. So when, like, the cops mapped it out, like, from where he was at, like, he could have been in Washington. He could have been in Nevada. He could have been in Utah. Like, 800 miles is, like... They have no idea which direction because they didn't have any GPS on his car. He didn't have his phone. So it was like, there was no way. Like, they have no idea to this day where the fuck he went.
Oh my God.
Like, imagine trying to be like, okay, let's circle 800 miles each way and figure out where he could have gone. Like, what?
Why wouldn't he have just waited 15 minutes for his car?
I don't know. I'm assuming that he may have
maybe he thought
gone back from the body and went to dispose of it because he was gone for 20 hours. So I think that's what he was doing during that time.
Yeah, or like maybe he was worried that they were like...
Yeah.
GPS tracking vehicle or something.
Something.
Okay.
So at this time, the cops were like, that's weird. You're gone for 20 hours. Let's look into your dad. And Josh's dad, Steve, was also unaccounted for this time, and his phone was completely shut off.
Oh my God.
And so when they're interviewing him, they find out that Steve and Josh are like actually pretty close to each other. And so they're like, this is weird. And then Steve admits to the cops about having deep feelings for Susan. He says that she liked it. She flirted back with him. She wanted the attention. And I was like, she's 19 at the time when you first started doing this. Like, you're 50. She wasn't doing that to you. Like, and you can tell the video, there's so many videos of her. And like, he videotapes her while she's bending over. He videotapes, she was like getting in the car one time and her skirt kind of came up, so she like went to push it down before she shut the door, and he zoomed in and he was like, see that? She did that for me. Like her skirt got like moving up her leg. Like you can't see anything. It's just her skirt moved up as she sat down.
God.
And she like brushed it with her hand and he was like, yeah, she did that for me. That was for me. Like, no, she didn't know she was being videoed, you fucking creep.
Oh my God.
Yes. So before this is happening, Josh, going back, was getting more and more controlling. She could only have $100 a week to get groceries and gas, like to put in the family car.
Isn't she the one making all the money?
And she's the one making all the money. But he would take her paychecks and give her an allowance to live on.
I hate Josh.
She was also telling her friends at this time that he was really into murder shows. And I was like, same, but...
That's fine.
And actually, he said if he killed someone, he would put a body in the mine where nobody could find it. And he would be like, oh, this person is a bad killer because he did this and this wrong. And so Susan I was like, I do that too. I was like, they totally should have done it this way. So I don't know if that, but yes, red flag.
Okay.
So on the family computer, they had found that there were searches for mines in Utah and Nevada. So.
I'm just going to say if I was on the jury, you would be convinced, I would be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt.
I would.
Regardless of any physical evidence.
Yeah. No,
like,
you don't need a body. I know she's dead.
It's reasonable doubt.
The only thing she wanted in life was to be a mother and a wife.
Yeah.
Like, that was her main purpose.
And that's so fucked up because that's her main purpose. And he has the ability to work and, like, could have let her be a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
But he just can't fucking do it and makes her work full-time, which causes her to be away from her kids.
Right.
Which isn't the worst thing in the world.
No, but or even she was interested. She should have done what she was interested in doing. Like, that made her happy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough money because he's a piece of shit.
Okay.
So, getting back to like back and forth, Josh's siblings would wet the bed when they were younger, all of them. So I don't know if they were sexually abused by the dad or not, but like this is just something that like I don't like. This is adding to what I think makes him, you know. And as a punishment, he would make the kids take ice baths to shock out the urine or whatever, or having the need to piss the bed. I don't know.
I'm a parent. You're a parent.
Yeah.
Can you imagine ever like getting upset at your kid for having like an accident?
No.
It's a fucking accident.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
We'll clean the sheets. Mm-hmm. We have mattress protectors. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
None of this is a big deal.
No.
It's so weird to me that there are parents, my husband's included, that like beat people for having an accident. Yeah. It's wild. Mm-hmm. I was watching this is completely like off topic, but I just don't get that side of like being a parent.
No.
And I feel like I hear these stories and I see these examples, and the more I'm a parent, the less I understand.
Yeah.
Like, this one was like, a kid going into their parents' room in the middle of the night. It was like a skit of a kid like going into their parents' room in the middle of the night to tell them that they had thrown up. So it was like waking up their mom, like, Mom, I threw up. And the mom like freaks out because they threw up in their bed. And she's like, now I have to clean the sheets. And I'm supposed to be at work. And I'm like, no one wants to throw up in their bed. Like, who's like, hey, let me do that? Like,
I wish my kids threw up in their bed. Like, they always threw up on the fucking carpet. I'm like, God damn it. Either throw up in somewhere I can wash or in the toilet, like, not on your carpet.
Well, you set a bad example on appropriate places.
Okay, in the sink is still better than the carpet.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't understand, like, that, like...
No.
That mindset of like
absolutely not
being upset about an accident.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
And that's gotta be like, you don't want to be like, hey, I just wet my bed, you know, like I wet myself. Like, that's embarrassing enough.
Oh my God. Well,
you know,
especially in a household of 5 kids.
Yeah, and a sexual predator.
Well, like, whenever I would wet the bed, all my siblings would make fun of me.
Oh, see, that fucking...
And it made me vow that when my kids do it, because everyone does it. Who goes through their entire childhood like never doing it?
I've done it like 5 years ago. I remember having a dream and I thought I was peeing on the toilet, and I woke up and I was like,
uh-oh.
And then Auntie was still asleep and I'm like, fuck.
So like, everyone's done it, and like I literally vowed.
Yeah.
I will never make them feel embarrassed about this.
No.
Who cares?
No, it's not a big deal.
Who cares? I have a washing machine.
You're sound asleep. Like, I didn't even know that I was having a dream. Like,
who cares? You trusted your dream. I learned that the second you start going in a dream, you better wake your ass up.
It's all gone.
For sure. It's just crazy. It's so like I can't understand, and the more time I parent, the less I understand.
Right.
But like, this isn't a person who cares about the well-being of their kids, obviously.
Obviously not. No.
So I have a hard time like even looking at the world through that framework.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry for detracting.
That's okay. So, his dad, Stephen, was really shitty to Josh when he was younger. Like, they had grown...
Probably threatened by him.
He probably was. That he almost tried to commit suicide.
Oh.
And then his wife, or his father was so gross. Like, he was interested and wanted his wife to go along with polygamy and have other wives. And she was like, no. He even gave her a venereal disease because he would go out and... sex workers and all that kind of stuff. He had this strange family dynamic where he would pin the girls against the boys for some reason. Like, I don't know how, but like in some way they would always be like fighting against each other. Josh and Michael, one of his brothers, were very close. And the police noticed this, so they started looking through Michael's email. And they found that he had emailed a wrecking yard in Oregon and wanted large, like, fine pixel pictures of the wrecking yard. Like, where everything was placed, like an aerial view. So he wanted to know, like, what the wrecking yard looked like.
That's weird.
Yes. Michael and Elena, his other sister, we're going back to, like, now, went to stay with Josh for a couple of weeks after Susan had gone missing. When they were on their way home, their car broke down. And instead of taking it to a mechanic to get fixed, they took it to the salvage yard because they knew it would be destroyed and the car would be gone. And so they just rented another car and drove the rest of the way home.
What? Why?
I don't know. They just did. So the
wait, but this was their personal vehicle?
Yeah. It was Michael's car, his brother's car.
That's suspicious,
right? This whole thing is suspicious. So the police catch wind of that, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna go send some dogs to that junkyard, and they go immediately to Michael's car because the car had not been destroyed yet, and they were wagging their tails on the trunk. So they were like, oh, these are cadaver dogs. So they're like, yeah, this has got to be. They sent in a test. It came back inconclusive. So they couldn't do anything. So like, why? Like, they did smell something. And dogs usually don't get those things wrong. Like, they know. Like, they're trained. They're pretty good. So I don't know if she was in there at some point, but they picked up on some sort of smell. But, like, they tested it for her skin, blood. Like, there's nothing in there that came back conclusive.
Okay.
So Jen, the sister, another sister, she's, like, the normal one in the family. She is totally against her father and her brother and, like, doesn't want anything to do with them or her other sister because her other sister is a little loopy. Okay. She says, I know Josh and my dad are a part of this. So put a wire on me and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get them to confess. So she's like this badass. Like, she was like, this is not okay. Like, the mother of my nephews are gone. Like, they did something.
We love a protective.
Yeah, she was like, she is like, I don't want anything to do with my family. I know they're weird. Like, she got out of it, luckily. So she goes in and they're having dinner and she moves Josh into a study and tries to get him to say something like, hey, the cops are on you. If you confess now, like, it won't be as bad and all of this. And he says, oh, my lawyer says not to say anything, and just walked away. So she was like, fuck. So after a while, Josh couldn't manage to have his own house because jobs. So he moved. Money.
Shocking when you get rid of your financial
only source of income.
Your one and only income stream.
Like, what?
There's no more money.
So he moves back into Steve's house where his two brothers and one of his sisters was living.
With his children? Where?
With his children.
Oh, poor kids.
Yes. Into that house. And so they're all living together. Josh and Steve find her diaries from high school. And they tell her parents, hey, we've been reading her high school. We think that by releasing her diaries, we're going to solve the case. And we're going to, like...
What does her family
get all
think?
This. Her family is horrified. At first, they stuck by Josh, and they were like, there's no way that he would do this to our daughter. You know, it's just not. But then they started, like, seeing habits, and they were like, yeah, okay, I think you're kind of weird. Like, where's my daughter? kind of thing. So they ended up hating each other. So they talk about these diaries. And so, like, then the police are like, okay, well, we really want to see what these diaries say. Like, is there evidence in there or what? Mm-hmm. But they can't get the diaries because they don't know where the diaries are. They can't get a search warrant for the diaries because they don't know the specific location where they are. So the police say, hey, we want to do a bait or a honk and wave to gain attention for Susan in 2011. So they had signs and they put, like, do you remember me? Have you seen me? You know, the phone numbers and everything. And they're like, this was on the way to the bank it was held on a Saturday, and Josh and his dad always went to make deposits at the bank on Saturday. So they knew that they were going to drive by, and they were hoping that, like, they would get them riled up. Mm-hmm. And they did. Steve walked over there and he's like, what are you guys doing? This is ridiculous. Like, why is this all attention to her or whatever? And he's totally like, Susan's dad is like, dude, like, we're just trying to help, you know, and he's just being a fucking asshole to her dad. And you're like, you did something to his daughter. Yeah. Like, he is hurting right now. So anyway, he lets it slip out that, like, oh, well, we have the diaries at our house. So the cops are like, bingo, search warrant. So they went and searched his house and found tapes of Susan, cotton swabs of her, like when she removed her nail polish, in bags, dated with her name.
What?
Toenail clippings.
What?
Her underwear. Her feminine hygiene products.
No.
Bagged them, dated them, and put her name on them.
What the fuck?
They found over 5,000 pictures of Susan. Some of the pictures, he had morphed himself into the picture. So, made it look like... Yeah, he photoshopped himself into the picture so that he would be with her. They also found tapes of other women, changing in different restrooms, going to the bathroom, and girls. Not just women, girls. So Steve gets arrested. It's like, bye.
Yeah.
And the children are finally taken into protective custody.
Good.
Thank God. So Susan's parents get temporary custody of the kids, and Josh has to do a mental evaluation to see if he is okay enough to take care of the kids.
Is he?
No. Well, I mean, we'll find out. Okay. Susan's parents said to the state the kids were out of control when they came to them. They were violent towards each other. They didn't know how to share. They didn't know how to sit down and eat a meal. They were just feral kids.
Yeah.
Nobody was parenting these kids after their mom died. Josh didn't give a fuck. He didn't pay any attention to them. He unenrolled them in daycare. He withdrew all her money out of her retirement account. He did all these things. Obviously he did it. Why would you do that if you're still
waiting for her to come back?
Yeah. So, ugh.
I'm surprised that they didn't, do that petition for her to, be declared dead so he could, collect life insurance money.
I think they eventually do, but, at this point it wasn't.
That would be the beneficiary. Yeah.
And
if she's smart, she would have changed her beneficiary to not be him at all.
I think she did, though.
Seems like she
had a will in that box.
Smart enough to...
she knew. That's so sad. You're taping. And on one of the tapes, she was like, okay, so this is all the assets we have today, and hopefully we live happily ever after. And then, kind of gives this smile and then turns off the tape, and it's like, oh, fuck.
Her parents must be
they were
so heartbroken because had she reached out to them, I'm sure they would have done anything possible.
And they didn't like him from the beginning. Yeah. His mom and his sister, or her mom and her sister were like, please don't marry this boy or this man. Please don't. He's not right. We feel something's off.
Yeah.
So one of the kids draws a picture of his mom in the trunk of the car. And says, and they're
this is the last time we saw her.
What is that? And he's like, well, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but this is me, this is dad, this is my brother, and this is mom in the trunk, when they went out camping. And so they were like, they get a search warrant for Josh's computer this time. And he had drawings of children porn. But since they were drawings and they weren't actually pictures or anything, they couldn't do anything about it.
He had drawn
he drew pictures of children doing things. I don't know, but since it wasn't an actual being, they couldn't arrest him or do anything about that.
Okay.
But he was ordered to take a psychosexual evaluation that also included a polygraph.
Okay.
He was granted supervised visits before these tests were completed. So they were supposed to be completed, and then that was going to determine if he got rights. Mm-hmm. No, they were like, oh, well, while this is all going on, please go ahead and visit with your children.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. They were supposed to be taking place at a government building with a person there. Mm-hmm. But since his case was so popular at the time because it was plastered all over Utah, where's Susan, blah, 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 this mom's going missing, other people at the courthouse who were trying to visit their kids were like, this is fucking bullshit. I can't deal with this. It's not fair. So they agreed to let him have visits at Josh's house, which he had rented a house down the street from his father, because he couldn't take the kids back into that house.
Okay.
So he's trying to, as he's going through his evaluation, he got a different house. He moved away from his father. He's trying to show that he can take care of his kids, is what he's doing.
No.
So February 5th, 2012, Josh, it was a Sunday, was having a visit with his kids.
I appreciate that. The day of the week.
It was Super Bowl Sunday is what they said. So I don't. So she takes him over, and
grandma.
the government lady.
Okay.
The
Like
mediator. Yeah. She picks him up from the grandparents' house, takes the kids over to Josh's house. He opens the door and says, "Hey, I've got some toys." Like, so they go dashing in, and then he slams the door. And he looked directly in that woman's eyes and just slammed the door. And she was like, "Oh fuck." So then while he was slamming the door, she smells gas and is like, "Oh fuck me." Yeah. So she calls the cops and says, "Hey, I'm at this place. I'm a supervised visit. He's in there. I smelled gas and now I can hear the children crying." And this fucking operator is
such a dick, right?
Such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't know the address of the place because she was just driving. Like, she was like, "Oh, I got to get it out of my car." And then she was like, "Hello?" And then he's like, "Yeah, I'm still waiting to see where you're at." Like, and then it takes him like 10 minutes to make a call. And then she says, "Well, I'm fearful for their life. I smell gas. I hear screaming. Like, it's their father. He's in a custody battle." And he was like, "Well," she goes, "How long is it going to be?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know, ma'am. They go to emergency calls first." And she was like, "This is an emergency. Like, I am fearful for their life. I'm telling you right now, it's an emergency." Hangs up the phone. The house explodes. She calls back. And she was like, "I'm still here. It takes them another 10 to 15 minutes to get to the fucking explosion." So the house is just burning. And she's standing there watching it, knowing that Josh and the two boys are inside the house. And so it's like, after they do an autopsy, they found out that Josh had beaten them over the head with like a hammer beforehand, but they didn't die. They died of smoke inhalation, and they were holding hands when they found him. No. Their last moments were horrific. They were 5 and 7, so they knew what was happening. So he had called and left a message to all his family members saying goodbye and that he couldn't live without the children. But like, they didn't get them. Like, he had left messages or sent them emails and stuff, so they hadn't like read them yet or whatever. But he did do that. A month later, Steve pleads not guilty to 14 counts of voyeurism and 1 count of child pornography. The judge wouldn't let the videos of Susan in court against Steve because Susan was not there to say if it was okay or not that she was being recorded at that time, even though it clearly shows that she didn't know half the time that she was being recorded. So he pleads the 5th on every question regarding Susan. Won't say anything. He gets 30 months in jail and then 36 months of community custody afterwards. He'll have to go live in a halfway house once he gets released from jail. 1 year after that, Michael, his brother, committed suicide.
Okay.
In July 2017, Steve was let go and moved into a halfway house and had a heart attack and died.
Karma.
Yeah. And they found written in Steve's journal the day dated after Susan disappeared, saying, "I feel like Josh did a really stupid thing. He did it his way and he didn't want to deal with divorce and now it's all messy." So like, he admitted it.
Yeah.
And the dad helped him, and probably the brother. Yeah. And so they searched and searched and searched minds that like he had searched on his computer. They had gone, but I mean, there's so many of them that there's no way that they could have ever found her. So she's still missing. Josh, his boys, his dad, and his brother are all dead. And that's the story of Susan Cox Powell and her kids. I feel like I don't want to say just her because it's her kids are involved in that as well. And it is so creepy, his videos. Like, you have to go home and just watch a couple of videos of him. Like, the dad is just so fucking creepy. And then the 911. So I'll play that, I think, at the end of this episode, because I know a lot of people don't like 911 calls. But this is not from someone this is from the mediator, you know? So, like, it's not like a person in distress calling. It's someone that's not related to that. So I think we can play that, right? I know some people don't want to hear like people call 911 when they're like being threatened. I don't know. It's kind of like a private thing. Like I wouldn't want my 911 published. Like if I was like being murdered. I don't know. It seems like a private thing.
Yeah.
But this one isn't regarding her. It's regarding someone else. So I think I'm going to play that at the end of the episode because it's really frustrating. And you'll see that I don't think even if the person had understood what she was saying right away, that they would have gotten there in time. I think, like, either way, this would have happened. But it did take them an extremely long time from the first phone call till the ambulance and the fire trucks showed up to the house, God, which is ridiculous.
Fucking guilt she must live with.
Yes. And, like, I think she was like a 65-year-old woman. So, like, they put her with this man who they know is being investigated of his wife's murder, and they send some, I don't want to say old, but like little 65-year-old woman against some man who's like 40. Like, what do you think? No, he's violent. Like,
I mean,
why would you do that?
The guilt she must feel.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. So that is all.
Jeez. Jeez.
Yeah. All right, so I'll post this now, and then that's it. Thanks.
Bye. Hey, I'm on a supervised visitation for a court-ordered visit, and something really weird has happened. The kids went into the house, and the parent, the biological parent, whose name is Josh Powell, will not let me in the door. What should I do? What's the address? It's 8119, and I think it's 89. I don't know what the address is. That's pretty important for me to know. Sorry, I can't. Just a minute. Let me get in my car and see if I can find it. Nothing like this has ever happened before at these visitations, so I'm really shocked. And I could hear one of the kids crying, but he still wouldn't let me in. Okay, it is just a minute. I have it here. You can't find me by GPS? No. Okay, it is, I still can't find it. But I think I need help right away. He's on a very short lease with DSHS, and CPS has been involved. And this is the craziest thing. He looked right at me and closed the door. Are you there? Yes, ma'am. I'm just waiting to know where you are. Okay. It's 8119 189th Street, Court East, Puyallup, 98375. And I'd like to pull out of the driveway because I smell gasoline and he won't let me in. You want to pull out of the driveway because you smell gasoline, but he won't let you... He won't let me in. He won't let you out of the driveway? He won't let me in the house. Whose house is it? The kids in the house and he won't let me in. It's a supervised visit. I understand. Whose house is it? Josh Powell. Okay, so you don't live there, right? No, I don't. No, I'm contracted to the state to provide supervised visitation. I see. Okay. And who is there to exercise their visitation? I am. And the visit is with Josh Powell. And who supervises? And he is the husband that I supervise. So you supervise and you're doing the visit? Yeah, I supervise yourself? I supervise myself. I'm the supervisor here. Wait a minute. If it's a supervised visit, you can't supervise yourself. If you're the visitor. I do supervise myself. I'm the supervisor for the supervised visit. Okay, well, aren't you the one making the visit? Or is there another parent that you're supervising? No. I'm the one that supervises. I pick up the kids as their grandparent. Yes. And then who visits with the children? Josh Powell. Okay, so you're supposed to be there to supervise Josh Powell's visit with the children? Yes, that's correct. And he's the husband of missing Susan Powell. This is a high-profile case. How did he gain access to the children before you got there? I was one step in back of them. Okay, so they went into the house and then he locked you out? Yeah, he shut the door right in my face. All right, now it's clear. Your last name? My name is Elizabeth Griffin Hall. Griffin Hall is hyphenated? Yes. And what's your phone number, Elizabeth? This cell phone number is 360-990-9955. And what agency are you with? Foster Care Resource Network. And the kids have been in there by now approximately 10 minutes. And he knows this is a supervised visit. 2. Braden is 5 and Charlie is 7. And the dad's last name? Powell, Powell. L. 2 L's? 2 L's at the end of Powell? Yes. His first name? His first name is Josh. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, native? He's white. Date of birth? I don't know. He's about 39. How tall? 5'10", 150 pounds. Hair color? Brown. Did you notice what he was wearing? No, I didn't notice what he was wearing. Is he alone then, or is anybody? I don't know. I couldn't get in the house. Are you in a vehicle now or on foot? I'm in a vehicle. I'm in a Prius on a 2010 Prius. What color? The door's locked. But he hasn't opened the door. I rang the doorbell and everything. What color? I begged him to let me in. Elizabeth, please listen to my questions. What color is the Toyota Prius? Gray, dark gray. And the license number? I don't know. I can look. 750ZMH. Zebra Mary Henry? Yes. All right, we'll have somebody look for you there. Okay, how long will it be? I don't know, ma'am. They have to respond to emergency, life-threatening situations first. The first available deputy... Well, this could be life-threatening. He went to court on Wednesday, and he didn't get his kids back. And this is really... I'm afraid for their lives. Okay, has he threatened the lives of the children previously? I have no idea. All right. We'll have the first available deputy contact you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas,
Facebook,
The M Mamas,
Twitter,
The Murder Mamas,
email,
themurdermamas@gmail.com.
and if you like us and are happy with our content, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We would appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.